What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are basically going to continue our coverage over Earth 1 comics. Now, we already covered Earth 1 Batman Volume 1, and I felt like we should cover Earth 1 Superman Volume 1. Now, the reason why, because I love Earth 1 comics, but I really love Earth 1 Superman. It was actually pretty good to me personally, and I felt like you guys will also like it as well. And so that is why we're going to cover Earth 1 Superman. And with that being said, I really love Volume 1 and Volume 2. Volume 3, it was alright. But either way, you have to remember, when it comes to Earth 1 comics, they take place in an alternate universe. So don't worry about when does this story takes place in Superman's life. Do not worry about that at all, because this Superman is from an alternate universe known as Earth 1. And if you guys like Earth 1 Superman a lot, we can do other books as well, like Earth 1 Teen Titans, Earth 1 Green Lantern, Earth 1 Wonder Woman, and I know they're doing Earth 1 Aquaman or Flash very soon. But here is Earth 1 Superman. I do hope you enjoy. Now, in the opening pages of this book, we pick up with a Clark Kent that is already coming into Metropolis. Like, this is his first day into Metropolis. And right now, we can tell with this Clark Kent, he doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. And the reason why I'm saying that, because you have Clark Kent arrive in Metropolis. He finds an apartment. And the place he's staying at right now, the lady is asking how long is he planning on staying here? And he tells her, I don't know yet. She even asks him, are you going to go to college? And he's all like, I don't know yet. It's Clark Kent trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. Now, again, we have no idea about the past of Clark Kent in this alternate universe, but all we know is that right now he is just arriving into Metropolis and trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life right now in Metropolis. Now, as Clark Kent is going around and trying to basically figure out this city, he does run into a random thug. Now, this thug does pull out a gun. Now, of course, with this thug pulling out a gun, he does plan on shooting Clark Kent. Now, of course, you do have Clark Kent tell this thug to put the gun away, kind of like a warning, because this thug has no idea that Clark Kent has powers. But of course, you have the thug continue to try to rob Superman until you actually have Clark Kent use his heat vision to get rid of the gun. Now, remember what I said earlier. This is a Superman or Clark Kent who has no idea what he wants to do with his life. All we know is that he arrived in Metropolis with no idea what he wants to do. And so the first thing he does is go to a football tryout session. Of course, this tryout session is to allow people to actually walk on and join the city of Metropolis football team. So like, imagine if your team had a professional NFL team and they allow tryouts. And if you're able to prove that you are a good player in those tryouts, they will actually give you a contract deal. And so this is what we're seeing right now with Metropolis, where you have this football team having a tryout. Clark Kent is trying out to see maybe his life should go in the direction of being a football player. Now, with that being said, you have Clark Kent just showing off. And you can tell it's Clark Kent doing all these different things so well, where of course the coaches are like, yo, we have to sign him. Get me a check right now. Leave that check blank, because how much money he wants, you put that down, because this dude will be our future franchise player. Like, he is legit. Make sure you sign him now. And so, of course, you do have the coach actually talk to Clark Kent. Now, we are left to believe that basically Clark Kent did turn down the football job offer, and he does go to a nearby science facility. Now, when he goes to this science facility, of course, he was actually trying to apply for a position where he is one of the main scientists of this laboratory. Now, of course, the person in charge kind of like, I don't even know who you are. we only hire people who have PhDs from the top 5 colleges in the nation. So why should I hire you if I have no idea about who you are and you have no record of a PhD nor any records of being a top scientist in the world? So why should I hire you? Now, of course, that is the moment you have Clark Kent say, okay, tell me what your scientists are currently working on. And of course, it's some crazy math equation. And you have Superman write out the answer to that equation, give it to the guy in charge. The guy in charge goes and takes it to the scientists. And when they all look at Clark Kent's work, they realize they have a genius standing in their room. And you have that guy come back to Clark Kent and say, stay right there, because we want to offer you a job, because you just basically broke that equation that these top scientists have been struggling with for the last couple of days, weeks, or months, who knows. But either way, it's the scientists now saying, we want to hire you. Whatever position you want, listen, you could have it. And so later on that night, we actually do learn a little bit more about the origin of this Superman, this Clark Kent, where, of course, at this point in his life, his father, Jonathan Kent, is dead. He's no longer around. But of course, by this point, Martha Kent has retired, and she is just hoping that her son, Clark Kent, will live a good life and be happy with anything he actually chooses to do. Now, this kind of brings in a life lesson for Superman, where, of course, you have Clark Kent say he did find a couple jobs, and he's kind of wondering which one to take. But if he takes either one of these jobs, he'll be able to actually take care of his mother. But then you have his mother say, do not worry about taking care of me. Worry about taking care of yourself. Because I have this house. I have my retirement. I have my memories of you and Jonathan. That's all I need. The last thing I want right now for you, Clark, is to do something you want to do. But whatever you choose, just know your mother is going to support you no matter what you choose. Now, if you're asking me what I want you to do, well, it's the same thing your father wanted you to do. And of course, we know if you go down that road, you could lose yourself a tad bit. But again, we're not going to force you to go down that road. We just want you to be happy. Now, of course, we kind of get a little hint here that basically Jonathan Kent was kind of telling Clark to use his powers for the betterment of good. And so we do see Clark Kent kind of go out of his way and try to find other kinds of jobs, where, of course, every single interview that Clark Kent has, he shows them that he's worth a lot of money because what he's able to actually do. But of course, it still doesn't satisfy Superman enough, to the point he's still wondering, what does he want to do? And that is the moment he does see a newspaper. And of course, when he does see that newspaper, it does kind of give him the idea of what he wants to do, which is basically possibly be a reporter. Now, we actually do pick up with Clark Kent going to the Daily Planet, where, of course, he does meet characters like Perry White. He does meet Lois Lane. He does meet Jimmy Olsen. Now, I do want to say, you would think that basically with him coming here, that he would instantly fall in love with Lois Lane, that he would instantly become best friends with Jimmy Olsen. But the thing is, as Superman is interviewing with Perry White, you have Perry White trying to put out flames left and right. And not literal flames, but like different things going on with the Daily Planet. That even though he's interviewing Clark Kent, he's still taking care of business on the side. And so really, it doesn't give Clark Kent that much chance to actually communicate with Lois Lane, that much chance to communicate with Jimmy Olsen, or that much amount of time to actually talk to Perry White while he's there at the Daily Planet. But either way, you do have Perry White say, listen, here is an application. If you want to apply, go ahead and apply. But I read your past stories, and I can tell your past stories you wrote in Smallville, it felt like you were holding back something. And I want you to write like nothing is holding you back. And with that being said, it makes Clark Kent actually think a little bit about himself. Like, well, what if Perry White is actually speaking the truth? And so you actually do have Clark Kent take that application as he leaves the Daily Planet and throws it in the trash. Now, that is the moment we actually do see Superman fly out into space. And this kind of shows us that, yes, this is not like your Smallville Superman where he has no idea how to fly until the very end of the show. That this is your Superman who knows how to fly. But then we see him kind of beginning the process of having a flashback. And this flashback is going to be very important about the origin of Superman. And of course, this flashback is a conversation that basically is Jonathan and Martha Kent telling Superman that he is not from Earth, that he is from a different planet. Now, of course, they have no idea what kind of planet he's from, but it's them telling him, listen, son, you are not from here. You're not from Earth. And clearly you should know that by now by the different things you're doing on the farm, which tells us that his powers have begun to manifest around this age, which I'm going to say probably like 6, 7, or 8. But either way, it's the Kent family saying, you came from a different planet. And when you crashed here, well, you had something with you. And that is when we go deeper back in time to the point where we actually pick up with Jonathan and Martha Kent kind of on a hike. And while they're hiking around, of course, that was the moment you do had Clark Kent's spaceship crash on the Earth. And of course, when it did crash on the Earth, you had the Kent family go towards the crash to see the crash plane or the crash spaceship. And when they got close enough, they found a baby. And of course, that baby was Clark Kent. And so you had the Kent family take the baby, get far away from that spaceship. And luckily they did right on time because that spaceship did blow up. Now, the book does answer the question, did the government step in after Clark Kent's spaceship crash? And the answer is yes, they did. And what they did was basically right after the crash site, a bunch of helicopters did fly towards the crash site. Now, of course, Jonathan and Martha Kent, they were already gone with the baby and driving off. But of course, it shows us that the government kind of knew about the crash landing of Superman. Which then this leads into another conversation between Clark Kent and Jonathan Kent, where you have Jonathan kind of hand over a small piece of something to Clark Kent and said, this was the only thing we were able to gather from your spaceship before we had to leave, and of course, before it blew up. But this is all we have left. Now, of course, it does lead into another flashback where Clark Kent was being bullied. Now, of course, this shows that Clark Kent did not use his powers for evil. He did not use his powers for personal gain. That basically, when it came to bullies just picking on him, he made sure to hold back his powers and not use it against the bullies at all. But of course, it did bother him, but he had no choice not to do anything to keep his powers a secret. Now, we do see Clark Kent actually go over to a graveyard site. Now, of course, this graveyard site is what's holding the grave of Jonathan Kent. And Clark Kent comes here to talk to his father. Now, of course, this is where we kind of can say that Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent wanted Clark to use his powers for the betterment of good, meaning that to go to the world and show the world who he is, but to show the world that he's actually here for the betterment of good, to actually help people out, to protect the earth. But of course, when it came to Clark Kent, he did not want to do that at all. What Clark Kent wanted to do, and he's doing it right now, is just blending in. He wanted to be left alone. He did not want to be out there into the world as some kind of hero. He just wanted to be a regular person. And with him being able to get almost any job in the world, meaning that he can have how much money he wants to have and to spend over and over again, that is what he wants. He wants to live a life alone with money and away from any kinds of problem. He does not want to be this Superman character. But of course, he's kind of wondering, maybe he should. And so with that is him saying, Dad, I wish you were here so that we can actually properly talk to one another. Now, that is when we actually jump over to the character known as Sandra Lee. Now, of course, Sandra Lee works for the military, and she's in charge of one very particular military operation right now. And of course, when she does go inside the base of this military base, well, that is the moment we kind of find out that basically the government did step in right after Superman did crash on the Earth. Because right now we see they're studying a part of Superman's ship, what brought him here to Earth. Now, while they're studying this ship, they're having a hard time decrypting or decoding any Kryptonian word. So they have no idea what is written on this ship. Now, one of the scientists was able to tell us that basically when it came to Kryptonians, they were able to actually write on atoms and molecules. And that is huge because those things are so small that you should not be able to write on them. But apparently, Kryptonians were able to do that. And of course, it makes Sandra Lee want to know more about this ship. But that is the moment she gets a call from a scientist saying, hey, listen, we're picking up some weird things floating outside the Earth atmosphere. And of course, she's kind of like, what do you mean? It's probably just some meteorites. Just ignore it. But that is the moment you had a scientist say, no, these are not meteorites at all. These are basically something out in space that are flying close to Earth, and they just changed their course, meaning that they're coming to Earth. So meaning that they could possibly be coming for this spaceship. Now, the next section makes you think that basically the Earth is about to be invaded, but not just yet, because right now we actually jump back over to Clark Kent, and right now we kind of find out that there is a building on fire. Now, at first, you would think that basically it would be Clark Kent going into that building to save the innocent lives of people who could possibly be trapped inside that building, but he's not. He went inside that building to save one particular item because that was his apartment building. Now again, he does not go in there to basically get his clothes. He goes in for one particular item. And of course, it's the same item that Jonathan and Martha Kent gave their son when they found him originally when he crashed on Earth, and they saved for him when he was a young boy. And of course, gave it to him. And he held on to that piece ever since then. But of course, when he does fly out of the building with that piece begins to glow. And for Superman, he's kind of like, what's happening right now? Why is this piece beginning to glow? And so you do have Superman use his X-ray vision. And when he does use his X-ray vision, he was kind of able to kind of look deeper into the piece to get a better look to see why in the world it's glowing right now. Why is it activating? What is about to happen? But that is the moment he does see the molecules in the atoms. And remember, Kryptonians were able to actually write on those. But of course, with him using his X-ray vision to read those, it sent some kind of power beam to his brain to basically make him crash onto the Earth. And so, of course, it seems like it's feeding him some kind of information. But getting back to Sandra Lee in the military base, of course, at the same time Clark Kent found his piece that was given to him, it began to glow. Of course, this piece of his spaceship also begins to glow, but that is the moment you have something else begin to happen on the earth. Well, of course, you have Sandra Lee get a call, and they're telling her, listen, things are popping off right now. You don't understand. Things are popping off. And we pick up with Perry White and Lois Lane, and when they look outside the Daily Planet window, they see something big happening. And of course, it is an alien invasion. You have an entire alien military force here in Metropolis just wrecking through the area. Jets are trying to fly in to protect the country, and they're being blown up out of the sky, which means that those bogeys that the scientists found earlier and Sandra Lee thought there could be a possibility they were just meteorites are no longer meteorites. These are basically now aliens invading the earth. That is what the scientist was trying to tell her, because those bogeys just randomly changed course very quickly in space, which told us that this is an alien invasion. And of course, they have to be here for Superman and also here for his spaceship, because why on earth would they arrive right now as soon as the spaceship was able to activate? Now, of course, we all know with Metropolis being attacked by this alien invasion, you're going to have Lois Lane be Lois Lane. And so Lois Lane's all like, Jimmy, let's go. We got to get out there, get a story, and also get a picture. So let's go. And so you have Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen be those people who go out in the middle of a war zone, be all like, I got to get a story. I got to get a picture. And honestly, I'm telling you guys right now, if we had an alien invasion happening right now and I was a reporter, I would not be out there doing this right now. I'd be hiding. But of course, it's Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. So they do go out there to try to get a picture and try to get a story together to see what's happening right now in Metropolis. And basic military jets are doing nothing to these alien ships, which of course makes sense. But of course, you have Lois Lane getting word about what is happening in other parts of the world. Because it's not just Metropolis, it's also Hong Kong, it's also London, it's also Rome. You have the whole world right now being invaded by aliens. And this shows that whatever's going on between Clark Kent, that spaceship, and this alien invasion is going to be big and epic. But of course, it's time for Superman to step up, because right now the entire world is about to be wiped out. Now, Clark Kent, he's still knocked out, but while being knocked out, that is the moment we come to find out the ship is beginning to repair itself. The same ship that brought Superman to Earth, that's right now being held at a military base, is beginning to heal itself. And that right there is huge, but it's still trying to get its systems back online for something big, huge to happen. Now, that is the moment we come to find out that basically right now, the ship is downloading something into Clark Kent's mind. And this is actually very huge, because what's being downloaded into his mind right now is basically different memories that he needs to know as a way to learn more about his past, his true origin. And that is the moment we get this flashback where you have Zor-El and Lara getting ready to put Clark Kent into a spaceship. And of course, to send him away, because Krypton is about to blow up. But this is where you have Superman begin to learn more about his past. Because remember, before this moment right here, Clark Kent had no idea where he came from. The only thing he knew was he was found by the Kent family. He is some kind of alien and he has powers. That is it. But this begins the process of him learning more about his past. Now, we actually do jump back over to Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen, because right now they're out there trying to get that story. But that is the moment you have Jimmy Olsen tell Lois Lane, what's about to happen, because all the patterns right now of this alien invasion seems like be happening the way most people would actually think an alien invasion would happen. So for example, first you have bombs, then you have the skies being controlled, and right now the skies are in control by the alien invasion. But then you have Jimmy tell Lois the next thing on their mind is to send down their troops. And that is the moment you have a bunch of ships just crash onto the earth ground, and you have all these robot drones begin to come out, which tells us, yes, the earth is being invaded. And now they're about to kill a bunch of innocent people to most likely get to Superman. Now, that is the moment we actually get introduced to the main bad guy of the book. And of course, the main bad guy of the book is the one who's leading this army right now. And of course, that person is no other than Tyrell. Yes, his name is Tyrell. Honestly, I know it's a bad name, but you know what? Move on. But either way, you do have Tyrell right now tell the entire world that he is the one who is leading this alien invasion. He is the one who's basically here looking for a certain person. And of course, that certain person is no other than Superman. Now, of course, he does not tell the world, yes, I'm looking for Clark Kent. Yes, I'm looking for Superman. No, because he has no idea Superman is Clark Kent, and the world has not met Superman yet. The only thing he's saying is he's looking for a certain person, and he will find that certain person. Now, if that certain person is not on this planet, then he will leave. But of course, he will only leave unless he makes sure that that person is not on this planet, which means that several millions of people are going to die just for him to make sure that person is not on this planet. Now, Clark Kent, he's seeing this. He's seeing the entire world being invaded right now. And he knows that this alien invasion is happening because of him, because they're looking for him. And so he knows he has to do something. The question is, though, what does he do? What can he do? And so what he does next is he basically goes out of his way to destroy some robots, which do, of course, save Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen, but that was not his master plan. He was just destroying those robots to actually get a piece of those robots, to take back to that science group he was interviewed by earlier in this book. And he's telling them, listen, I have a piece of one of those robots. If we're able to actually study this piece and learn more about them, then maybe we can actually stop them. But of course, you have all these scientists say, no, we are going to hide. Why in the world would I stay here while an alien invasion is happening? Insurance doesn't cover that. I'm out. Bye. Now we do get another flashback where is another conversation between Jonathan Kent and Clark Kent. Now this conversation is more of Jonathan Kent telling his son, listen, there are going to be things that we don't want to do, but we have to do. We have to basically put that pressure on the back of our shoulders and get that job accomplished. It seems like it's basically Jonathan Kent saying there's going to be a time where you're going to have to use your powers. There's going to be a time where your powers are going to be needed. And of course, you don't want to use your powers, but you're going to have to use your powers if you want to protect innocent people's lives. And that is when we actually do jump over to the moment where you actually have Jimmy Olsen, the present day, trying to get a picture of one of the robots. Now, of course, you have Tyrell actually take over one of the robots. And when he does question Jimmy Olsen like, why aren't you running away? Like, you should probably get away. And you have Jimmy like, nope, I'm going to stay here. And the reason why, because I need to get a picture. Now, at first, it's Tyrell thinking that Jimmy Olsen is Clark Kent. Like, oh, you're my target. You're the one that got away from me. I came here for you. But it's Jimmy Olsen like, no, I'm here to get a picture to show the world the truth. I'm here to make sure the truth is told. even if I die. And of course, that is the moment you have Tyrell about to kill Jimmy Olsen. But of course, that is the moment you have Superman save Jimmy Olsen and disappear. But of course, with Superman doing that, Tyrell now knows, oh, my target is here. My target is on this planet. Now, this leads into another flashback, and I like this flashback a lot because this tells us that Martha Kent was the one who made Superman's outfit. Now, what she tells us is that she did not make him a mask, and the reason why, because she says a mask hides your face, and the world needs to see your face because the world needs to know that you're not evil. The world needs to know that they can look to you for hope. They can look for you as protector of the planet. Now, the reason why she put an S on his chest is not because it's the family symbol of Krypton or anything, or it's Superman's Kryptonian family symbol. None of that. She put an S on his chest to represent son, because he is the son of the parents of Krypton. He is the son of them, Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent. He is the son of two different planets, Krypton and Earth. That is why she put the S on the chest. And so with that flashback, it's Superman now realizing what he has to do. He has to use his powers for the betterment of good. He has to use his powers to protect this world from Tyrell and this alien invasion. And so that is the moment you have Superman finally grab the outfit that his mom made him and puts it on. And this is where we see Clark Kent as Superman in the Earth 1 comics. Now, you do have Tyrell actually tell us that Superman is the last survivor of Krypton. He does tell us that right there. But Tyrell wants to be the one to actually kill Superman. Not anyone else, none of his robots, just him. He wants to be the one to actually kill Superman. But getting back to Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen, they're seeing this. They're seeing Superman be Superman. He's out there right now picking up cars, destroying robots. He's doing all these different things. It's him saying, yes, I am here to protect you guys. I'm going to use all the powers I have as a way to make sure that you guys do not be murdered by this alien invasion that's being led by Homeboy right now. Now, of course, you did have Superman realize that he sees Tyrell, and Tyrell must be the one in charge of this alien invasion. And so while you have Superman heading towards Tyrell, you have Tyrell send a message to the rest of his race to say that he is going to finally complete their mission that they had started 20 years ago. And right when Superman is about to punch Tyrell, you have Tyrell just slap Superman with his tail. Or punch. I want to say more of a punch, but it does look like Tyrell used his tail as a way to make Superman fly back. But either way, you now have Superman fighting against Tyrell. This is one of the big battles of this book, and they're fighting against one another across Metropolis. I mean, there is a lot of damages being done, but of course, it's Superman trying to stop Tyrell. Now, while they're fighting against one another, you do have Tyrell say, listen, you have given me a lot of trouble because I've been looking for you for 20 years, and I have gone to different planets, and each of those planets I couldn't find you. But of course, I had to kill a lot of people to make sure that you were not on those planets. But now I found you now, I'm going to kill you. But before I do kill you, I want to make sure you know the actual truth. That right there is very huge, because now the question is, though, what does Tyrell mean, the actual truth? And you have Tyrell say, isn't it strange to you to know that your planet just randomly blew up? Like, that doesn't happen. Why would a core of a planet just blow up? That makes no sense. No, your planet did not just blow up because the core began to fall apart. No. Your planet blew up because it was part of an assassination. My people wanted to get rid of your people. Now, you do have Tyrell kind of give us the origin of what happened to Krypton. And what Tyrell said is that basically his homeworld and Krypton, they used to be part of the same solar system. They used to basically rotate around the same sun, but they were neighbor planets. Now, of course, every 2 or 3 years, I forgot how many years, but when both planets were nearby each other, they would have a war. And of course, this war was all about the idea of Krypton wanting stuff that Tyrell's people have, and Tyrell's people wanted stuff that Krypton have. And so they would basically go to war between each other to kind of get what the other person wanted. And so it was a ridiculous war that would happen almost every single time the two planets were basically orbiting each other in their solar system. And so, of course, that means there were a lot of wars over the years until one particular character does come to the home world of Tyrell. Now, this particular character, we have no idea who he is, but what he does is he gives the people of Tyrell technology so advanced to help them get rid of their enemies. Now, again, we have no idea who is this mysterious bad guy that had basically helped the people of Tyrell, but they were able to give them technology to use to blow up Krypton, which of course they did. They blew up the core. Now, of course, some of the scientists did figure out that the core was dying, like Jor-El. But of course, by the time Jor-El could tell anybody at all, it was too late. And so he sent his son away, which was Clark Kent, away to Earth, and Krypton blew up. Now, you do have Tyrell actually tell Superman that his goal is to actually kill off Superman, but to punish this world, because this world, Earth, basically sheltered you, and with that they have to be punished. Now, of course, Earth had no idea that basically Superman crashed on their planet. I mean, the American government knew, but besides that, no one else knew. But either way, though, to Tyrell, they should also be punished. Now, while Tyrell is actually talking to Superman, is trying to keep Superman distracted, because that is the moment Superman realized what Tyrell is doing, which is that a bunch of drills are right now drilling into the core of the Earth, which of course meaning that he's getting ready to blow up the Earth, kind of like how he blew up Krypton. A little bit different, but he's going to get rid of the Earth for basically sheltering Clark Kent. And so you now have Clark Kent wanting to actually stop Tyrell's drills. Now, you do have Clark Kent try one more time to basically attack Tyrell, but that is the moment you have Tyrell actually hit Superman with some kind of sun energy. Now, when I say some kind of sun energy, what I mean is that out in the universe, you have different kinds of suns. Yellow suns, blue suns, red suns. There's different kinds of suns out there, and each sun does something different to Superman. Now, of course, we all know when it comes to the yellow sun, our sun, it gives Superman powers. Now, with that being said, though, what Tyrell did, he was able to absorb the different kinds of radiation each kind of sun gives out. And so with that, he knew back in their old universe, their old solar system that basically they had a red sun. And with the red sun, Kryptonians did not have any powers, neither did Tyrell. And so what he did was he was able to absorb the red sun radiation and use it on Superman. It's kind of like a kryptonite for Superman right now, because there is no kryptonite right now in the storyline. And so you got to find a way to somehow weaken Superman. Well, of course, it's the red sun radiation that is right now weakening Superman. Now, with that being said, though, it does seem like Superman is about to lose. Now, there was another flashback where basically you had Jonathan Kent actually talk to Clark Kent about the idea of allies coming to his side to actually help him out. And so the reason why we're being told that right there, because while Superman is being hit with red sun radiation, yes, he's stuck there, but he does have people who can actually help him. And those people are Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. And what they do is they get a truck with a chain, and they were able to throw that chain into the red sun energy area so that Superman would be able to actually grab that chain. And as soon as he grabs that chain, then they can drive the truck out, which of course does pull Superman alongside with it so that he'll be able to be pulled out of that red sun radiation. And as soon as he's pulled out, bam, the yellow sun energy brings him right back to full power. Superman is ready to go for round 2 against Tyrell. And so, of course, it does lead into another battle between Superman and Tyrell. And this battle is pretty epic. It's pretty big, but it's only 2 pages long. And the reason why, because we actually have to jump back over to another thing that is basically happening right now. And of course, it's about the ship of Superman. Because that is the moment you actually do have the ship arrive to actually help Superman out. And when the ship does arrive to help Superman out, you do have the ship basically tell Superman the game plan on how they're going to bring down Tyrell. And so you have the ship being able to penetrate the main ship of Tyrell. And with that, that means that Superman can now be able to actually go inside and cause some heavy damage to the main ship of Tyrell. Now, of course, that also means that Tyrell would basically try to stop Superman. But here comes the problem, though. The part of the ship they're in right now, of course, is red starlight energy, red sun energy. And remember, red sun does weaken Superman, but it also weakens Tyrell. Because again, they're both from the same solar system. And so with that, right now, this entire room is red sun energy. But of course, it lets Superman be able to actually beat down on Tyrell. Now, of course, in the middle of their fight, a bunch of debris does fall on Tyrell, basically trapping him. He can't move because the red sun energy does weaken him. But with that being said, you do have Superman leaving Tyrell to basically die. Now, you do have Tyrell tell Superman, I'm just the first one. More are bound to come. And when they do, they're going to come after you and try to kill you in this entire world. And you have Superman say, let them come. Because if they do come, I'll be here to basically stop them. And then he jumps out his ship in time, and then bam, the ship blows up. Now, this does actually begin the process of the story beginning to wind down. Now, one of the things you do have here is that the American government is now more bound, or more down, not bound, but more down with the idea to actually find Superman because they want to know more about him. And on top of that, they don't trust him. They feel like this whole entire alien invasion was basically a setup, that with Superman saving the day, then the American government would welcome Superman into their group. Then by then, when he's part of their group, then Superman would be able to take over the world. It's the American government being worried about the idea of even trusting Superman, to the point they tell Sandra Lee that now she has all the resources she needs to go find Superman and to bring him in. Now, this is the moment where you basically have Clark Kent actually go back to the Daily Planet. Now, when he does go back to the Daily Planet, that is also the moment where you have Jimmy Olsen share a picture that he took of Superman when he was Superman. And of course, you have Perry White super excited. He's like, oh my gosh, it's a great picture. But what do we call him? What's his name? And that is the moment you have Clark Kent actually step in and Clark Kent say, his name is Superman. And I had basically interviewed him earlier. And of course, Perry White's like, you did? Give me the story right now. Let's go. And so it's basically Superman joining the Daily Planet. Now, Lois Lane does question Clark Kent on how in the world he was able to interview Superman, but you have Lois Lane kind of back off a tad bit. But she's going to watch Clark Kent very closely. But you have Clark Kent say the reason why he chose to work here is because when he was Superman, but he doesn't tell Lois Lane that he was Superman. But when he was Superman, he saw Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen out there trying to fight for the truth, trying to get a story. And that right there kind of inspired him to basically come back to the Daily Planet. Now, the next question you guys are probably going to have is that, what about the spaceship that brought Superman to Krypton? Because we have no idea what happened to that spaceship after Superman basically used it as a way to penetrate the main ship that belonged to Tyrell. Well, we come to find out that Superman took the ship somewhere in the Arctic. Now, you would think that would mean that basically this ship is going to turn into the Fortress of Solitude, but it doesn't. But the ship is going to begin the process of teaching Superman everything he needs to know about Krypton, starting off with the idea that right now the ship is telling him he needs to avenge his dead world. Of course, talking about Krypton. But either way, this kind of does end the story for Earth 1 Volume 1 for Superman. Now, if you guys actually like this story a lot, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, I might actually cover Volume 2 of Superman, because I actually do own all 3 volumes. And like I said, I really do like Earth 1 Superman a lot. Pretty sure out of all the Earth 1 books, Superman and Green Lantern are the best ones. But with that being said, though, I do hope you enjoyed today's comic book video. And if you do, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.